Hello, Ellen.
Well, hello, Trevor.
Here we are back at the table.
Yes.
Back at the table, yard to table. It's another episode.
It's been fun.
It's been good. We've been doing a lot of good stuff. We've been talking to a lot of people. We're just going to keep on talking.
We do like to talk.
We do like to talk. That is very true. So it's good that we have a podcast because talking is one of the things that you have to do on a podcast.
That's true.
Because this, as a podcast, is just not good. That sort of awkward silence.
Oh, is that what that was?
That was an awkward pause. That was an awkward silence.
Yeah, it did feel awkward.
Very uncomfortable.
I was looking at you like, what is happening?
What is he doing?
Yes.
Well, that's uncomfortable. Normally, I would edit those out. I would trim those little bits.
So what are we going to talk about today, Trevor?
Well, today is Harvest Day.
Harvest.
Yeah, we're getting to that point in time where it is time to close up the garden, time to close everything out, time to take a look back at what we've done this year, which has been really extensive.
It has really been a wonderful year in the garden.
It's been phenomenal.
An extended growing season here in New England.
7A. Yep.
Yes, it's, I know many folks have had a longer window on their garden this year.
I was talking to somebody today who was still having some tomatoes and some elements from their garden.
Nice and a tad unsettling.
It is science fiction out there these days.
It is. But we're going to focus on the joy because we do really love our garden and how much we have grown with it over the years. And I would say, is it safe to say this may be our best
This
growing?
is the best year yet. Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't trying to do an awkward pause, but I was almost like, didn't want to jinx myself.
No. This was definitely the best year. We had more things grow. We did do some upgrades this year.
We did. Let's talk about that.
We added some height to all of our beds.
Because that delayed us a little bit.
It did push us a little bit of time, but I think we made up for it.
But we did. We started out by the continued work that we did around making sure our beds and our soil was good.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that we had some trouble with over the years was soil health.
Yes.
That was a real problem for us, ultimately. I know we've talked about that before, but having 25 yards of new organic compost layered in really was a game changer.
It was huge. And adding the depth to the bed. We have historic raised beds in our garden. You cut a lot of the wood, but I helped a lot of it.
You did help an enormous amount. There is video of you cutting. It was
a lot. We were definitely having some moments as a married couple in putting in.
I think my favorite part was you got that. Those are long. That's a lot. Whoa. Oh, wow. That's a lot of, those are heavy. Did you know they were going to be so heavy? These pieces, I got 2 by 12 by 12s, which is a rather large and heavy piece of wood.
Well, I think when the wood got dropped off, I think that was also a moment.
It was a full pallet.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Stonebrook is not a small place.
No.
And nothing that we do here is small. Everything is at more of an industrial scale.
Yes, for 2 people.
For 2 people in a family.
We do
get extended family.
We get a little help. Thank you so much to
everybody who helps. Overall, I think the beds really helped.
It was a big difference. And obviously we continue to use compost tea intermittently this time because the soil really was in so much better shape than it was last year.
Right. We're still getting wiggle room at scale.
Yes.
And, we're getting 10 gallons at a time and dropping that in, doing a little bit of mix of both. We did both follicular on the leaves itself, but then we also did it right into the soil. We did more into the soil than we did follicular. We did a lot of follicular. Say that 3 times fast. Follicular. Last year, we did a lot more of that.
Yeah. And we were heavy in the early growing because, again, we were a little late because getting the beds done, getting the soil in. We had garlic that had to be harvested. So those beds, that's always so much fun.
As you all know.
I love the garlic harvest. It's so satisfying. We talked about that in an episode, I know, but I just got to say it again. But we had those beds they were the last of our beds that we had to finish and plant. But I mean, overall, it was a great year. And what came out of our garden, Trevor, this year?
What didn't come out of our garden? That was my question. No, I think tomato harvest this year was phenomenal. And so many different varieties that we hadn't tried before.
Yeah.
And I think between the green zebras and the golden cherries and all of the rest.
San Marzano.
Yeah, the sun golds, the San Marzanos were phenomenal.
Amazing. And when we talk about garden and we talk about harvest, we want to talk about preserving, because you want to get that incredible summer flavor and joy that comes out, and you want to try to save it for those cold, dark New England winters.
Do whatever you can, save it.
And particularly because
winter is coming.
Allegedly, but yes, it is coming. But yeah, I mean, so we were really able to, this year, because it was such an incredible yield, we were really able to do a lot of that preserving. So when you're talking about preserving tomatoes, what we did this year was we did some batch freezing. We did some creation of sauces and soups.
We did like sort of 3 major areas, I
Correct.
would say, of preservation.
Yeah.
I will also say,
yeah,
preserving is very hard when you have to eat it immediately because it's so delicious.
Oh, I know.
It makes a problem. Preserving is, I mean, the word itself is to save for later. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do that.
I know. I think we had
really
pasta
hard to do that
for like 5 nights with the San Marzano sauce because it was so incredible.
Yes.
Delicious. But anywho, for freezing, you know, it's so easy. And I never really had thought that freezing a tomato was a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
For your sun golds, your cherry tomatoes, your smaller varieties, you do a flash freeze first. So lay them out on a sheet pan in your freezer for like an hour, get them nice and cold, and then you can preserve them in a bag. I like to use reusables because we always are trying to figure out ways to reduce plastic or containers. And then you can put that in, and then it's good to use over the winter. And for your larger tomatoes, if you're going to save a larger slicing tomato, you can also do that. You just need to make sure you take out the core, take out the stem, take out the top core. You don't have to go all the way through the tomato. I like to do a flash freeze also on a sheet pan. And then you can also put those in a reusable bag and put it in your freezer, mark and label it, and use it over the winter. And again, you can pull those out, chop them up for salsas. You can use them in roasts. They're very easy to take the skins off also once they're frozen. And that's really nice. So you can use them as a crushed tomato in any way that you would a jarred or canned tomato. We also tried a really fun recipe with the green zebras. We were able to create this delicious tomato lime jam.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
And we'll put a note to that. We'll put a link to it in the show notes so you guys can get the recipe for that one.
It was really surprising. This flavor was herby, but it was also bright and it's sweet. So this green zebra tomato jam is pretty easy. Well, first of all, number one, you have to grow green zebra tomatoes.
It is a key ingredient.
That is a key ingredient. So if you're not growing green zebras, then it probably will still work, but we didn't try it with doing it with a different one. But what I think is interesting about the green zebras, just from a flavor profile, is they aren't sour. Because they are naturally fully green. That is that's their color, which also makes it a little bit tricky when you're trying to check for ripeness and freshness. They go a little tiny bit stripy yellow. There's a little bit more yellow when it's ready.
Of golden.
But for the most part, it's still pretty widely green.
And so pretty.
They're beautiful. And the flavor is so bright and sweet, and they're phenomenal. I really highly recommend for everybody.
And you can use them just like you use any tomato in a salad. We sliced them up for burgers, for barbecues over the summer. It's very versatile. And
for the zebra jam, that's what I'm calling it now. Zebra jam. I'm forgetting the green and I'm just calling it zebra jam.
It might be off-putting for those who don't know.
Or for people that don't like zebra. But this tomato jam is essentially 2 pounds of the tomatoes, and you got to core them, but you do want to keep the juice when you do that. And then some zest from limes, just a little bit of that. And the
lime with this particular, it really was such a nice compliment.
It makes it sing. It really adds it all to it. So it's just zest of the limes, water, cane sugar, little bit of lemon juice, and the basil. So obviously we're also growing basil. That's also a really important component to add that additional depth of flavor and complexity to it.
It's your companion plant. With your tomatoes, you should be planting basil.
Exactly. And that really, so it's an easy thing. It was all right there. Once the tomatoes come to a boil, that's when you add that sugar and the citrus juice. You're basically doing it like you're making normal jam for those that make jam. And then you get it into that right temperature and that right consistency so that it's perfect for jam. A little bit of foam, you can get some of that off, but depending on how jammy you like your texture, you can continue to cook it. Then turn the heat off, let it sit, and then can it. Now, you can, at that point, you can really preserve it in a couple of ways. You can do more of a refrigerator canning where you just put it in there, or freezer canning where you put it in and then you put it into your jars and then just boop right into the freezer. Or you can do a full water bath can, which is what we did. Mm-hmm. So we like using just longer jars, 8-ounce jars, doesn't really matter. It's all about how many jars you want to make. If you want to do...
And I was thinking next time, I think I want to do a smaller jar, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you want to do more gifts, which we love gifting our peach jam and...
or even just to pop one open because you want to make a little cheese plate.
You're not really going to put this...
Because it's so good.
It is good, but you're not going to put all this on a full full toasted bread.
Maybe you would.
Maybe you would. Maybe you would.
It's a nice little accent.
You want me to do an accent?
I did not say that.
I thought you said something about a nice little accent.
I did not say that.
Good on you, Koba. No accents. Sorry. You didn't want that. I thought you did. I really thought you did.
Back to the jam.
So if it is for a cheese board, you can put them in little 3-ounce or 2-ounce jars, which we've also done. And then, like you said, you pop them open and you just, it's a really good addition.
Delicious with brie, that kind of cheese that will hold up to an unctuous, just a nice little flavor with that snappy jam.
Mm-hmm. It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's not going to work with this.
I agree.
You could probably put it on ice cream and it would be fine.
Your dad would, by the way.
Yeah, 100% he would.
Yes,
yeah,
he
he's
would.
got a very unique ice cream palate, that's for sure.
But part of this journey with this recipe and sort of creating these things is because we had such an incredible yield. We had such an amazing harvest.
Yeah.
So we were really looking at all these different ways that we could preserve. And I love seeing in the pantry these little jars of this green jam that I'm like, when are we going to pull that out?
I know, they're really fun.
Thanksgiving for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, we're going to put that on a little cheese tray for those lucky folks that are coming over.
It's not the only way that obviously we froze, we canned in terms of preserving in a jammy sort of a way. But I think for me at least, I think some of the big stuff happened in the oven with the roasting.
Oh my
goodness. The tomatoes.
Yes. Those San Marzanos with...
It's kind of a whole... And I know, look, everybody makes tomato sauce. Most people make tomato sauce in various and sundry ways. You yourself, Elle, have made lots of amazing sauces for us over the years.
Yeah, thank you.
It's true. It's one of my favorites. I will say that roasting those tomatoes, the San Marzanos, with our garlic, olive oil, salt and pepper on a pan.
Sometimes a little halved pepper.
Little pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Red pepper, chocolate peppers. We grew those too. Red peppers, chocolate peppers, ace peppers, all of that came in.
Red bell peppers.
Yep, came in really well. Putting it in a blender after 20, 30 minutes in, what temperature are we doing? Usually 400, 350?
400.
That's a whole nother thing.
So good.
It's makes the house smell phenomenal, by the way. So even if you're not out there needing to eat anything and you just have people coming over, I would recommend just putting garlic, tomatoes, and peppers in the oven. Forget about chocolate chip cookies. And just do that.
It's just that happiness too that we see. Everything on that sheet pan is things that we grew in the garden.
Came out of the yard.
This is I don't know. We love it. It's such a nice feeling. And then again, it's so delicious that immediately we're getting spoons out. As those of you who grow know, everything usually comes all at one time. Yeah. So you have bowls of different things that are ready to be processed in some way, shape, or form.
And you can only process so much.
Right. We had good friends of ours that were here this summer for a visit. They live up in West Hartford, and they also moved to Connecticut from Los Angeles. Indeed. Also previous East Coasters, and one of them was from Connecticut. And I think we were in the middle of this processing time, and I had multiple jars that were in the fridge in either They were going to be frozen. They were going to be canned. I mean, all this stuff. And I think I pulled everything out on the counter with a bunch of tasting spoons. And our good friend Regina, I was letting her taste everything in the jars to get her opinion on stuff. It was a fun moment.
Everything was better than the next. It was a really,
and they started growing in their yard. They bought a 1920s house
right after they really started the process, right after they came and saw what we were doing.
Yeah. So we were just sharing our process together. So it was a lot of fun.
1 yard at a time.
1 yard at a time. So with all of that, sun gold tomatoes.
That's the other thing. You're roasting those too.
Yes. And they make a delicious soup. They make an amazing gazpacho, cold. And I like to do, again, that's 400 olive oil, a little salt and pepper, nothing else. You can add garlic if you want, but sometimes just the taste of it alone is just so, I don't know, just lovely. You don't want anything else. You just want that, bring out the sun gold of it all.
And sun gold and a blender. Don't put the bread in the blender.
No, I guess you could, but that feels weird.
It does.
But for the gazpacho, you roast the sun gold tomatoes, you puree them in the blender. They only take about 20 minutes. Wait till they start to pop a little bit.
For cooking,
and then chill. And then what I like to do was I took cucumbers from the garden. Another big harvest we had this year was cucumbers, and made cucumber noodles and put that in the gazpacho.
Yeah.
A little crunch,
a little extra.
It's delicious.
Then we also did a little bit of chive oil on top that we made from our chives in our little herb section.
Right.
That's super easy. You just blend it up and put it into olive oil and strain it out, and boom, you got your chive oil.
So it was yummy. So this was the problem. We're making these things that are delicious,
but we're eating them.
Which is also okay.
I think one of the things that's so cool about those sun golds, those little babies, if we're not using them for the soup, is also the fact that the blender emulsifies with the olive oil the juice of the tomatoes.
That's all you need.
It's so game changing for sauce. That's what I was saying. You've made all these amazing sauces, but this process of just taking these fresh, ultra fresh ingredients right from our yard, blending them up, there isn't a better sauce, period. No. Like it doesn't exist.
It goes back to everything. It's so simple.
It's the
fresh, good ingredients, simple process, amazing flavor, amazing taste.
It's so good. It's so good.
So good.
And I think it's something that was really, for me, I say this a lot, I think, on the podcast, and I don't think it's saying it too much. There are those moments like the nasturtium or ground cherry or asparagus that you just have these aha moments, and I'm still having them. And I think that's so much fun that I'm still having them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are saying, well, yeah, of course you roast them and you blend them, and how else do you do it? But for us,
I'll give you another one.
Give me another one.
Radishes. I mean,
girl, these radishes. Let's talk about radishes for just a moment.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about radishes. I'm not traditionally a big radish guy.
I
do like them.
Yes.
I like them.
Not a lot of people on the compound
are big radish people. That's true. It's a good
point.
My
mom and I like the radishes.
Yeah. You do like little decorative rosettes and things like that.
And we go very old school. We make some very traditional rose radishes for holidays in relish trays.
Yeah.
That is like a old school.
Yeah.
I remember learning with my mom how to cut the radish and soak them in water in the fridge, and they open up.
These roasted radishes.
I like them in a salad. Go ahead.
I do like them in a salad. Yeah. I think I like them nice and thin.
Yeah.
Just like a little, using the mandolin and just getting them real thin. Mm-hmm. But the roasted radishes.
So good.
This is a revelation.
Yes. And again, harvest leading to what the heck do you do with this incredible yield? And this was an amazing year for us with the radishes. And so I'm like, I need to figure out different ways to eat this stuff. I was starting to do some research, and people cooked a radish. That was new to me. I had never had that before. And again, roasting brings out it's almost it's potato-like, turnip-like.
It's a little more on the turnip side, I think, once you roast it.
Yeah.
But I think where the real amazing part of this comes in, you've got these little baby radishes. I think it works best if they're younger.
I would agree. Yeah.
They're
smaller.
Little smaller, smaller, I'll say, not younger, smaller.
Yeah.
And then you're popping them in the oven.
Yeah.
They're roasting for longer, I think, than you think. Sometimes it's 20, 30 minutes. I'd give them a good 45 just to get nice and soft. And then the magic comes in at the end.
With the butter and the lemon.
Butter.
And the honey.
Lemon, honey, and thyme.
Yes.
Possibly that's the building blocks of humanity. It may be like the sort of core DNA. I think if you put butter, lemon, honey, and thyme on pretty much anything, I think asphalt would taste good if you put that on there. But
that sauce lights up your tongue.
The magic of those flavors combined,
that's
really, you're right. That's another one. It's a real aha surprise.
Yeah. That sauce is so good. Lemon zest.
There's a tanginess to the radish.
I'm drawn to lemon though.
Well, you are one lemon. Essentially,
I love some lemon.
There was a flavor profile, pudding, cake, ice cream, gelato, sorbets, foods, of it, soup.
Just I love lemon in the soup. So good.
We got to get a lemon tree in the greenhouse.
We do.
That's lacking. We're lacking.
I miss having a lemon tree.
Yeah.
I know.
California lemons. They were the best.
They're good. But no, that was amazing. It was so delicious. And I shared that recipe on our Instagram. And I was so excited that many people tried it. And we'll put a link to the recipe in the show notes. And I got a lot of great reactions. And that also is so part of why we love this journey, is just sharing and people telling me their riffs on how they make it, and people exploring it for themselves and being surprised at this flavor and taste profile. It's really cool.
And we have a bunch of radish converts now.
Yes.
There's like the new church of
I have one friend
radish.
I'm still working on, but I think I can bring her over. I think so. But in the meantime, we also do have a freezer full of delicious sauces of both. We have base for tomato soup. We have pasta sauce with the San Marzanos. I have whole tomatoes. I have cherry tomatoes, frozen.
There's not a lot of space left, by the way.
Good options.
We do have limited space. It's a good thing that the season is over.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we would have to basically have a room of refrigerators, essentially, which I'm sure some people do out there, have a room of refrigerators. But for us, yeah.
And the cucumbers. I mentioned cucumbers. What a year we had.
It was an insane year.
Yeah. So we had these beautiful bespoke trellises made with found wood on the property that were just so fun to watch grow, and the flowers and the vines. And I kept peeking in the tunnel underneath the trellises to see. It was just like a world in there with the flowers and the cucumbers growing. And we did slicing cucumbers.
All the bees.
And the bees.
They were loving it.
So great. The butterflies.
Yeah.
Skipperjack butterflies were everywhere. It was just so cool. And the slicing cucumbers did amazing. But the pickling cucumbers. Now, Trevor, do you like pickles?
I do not.
This is true.
I do not.
Yeah, my poor husband.
Yeah.
As I got into some deep
She got into some real pickling situations here. Some real situations. There was an incident with a broken jar of pickles in my childhood, which
has scarred you for life, essentially.
The smell of it has kind of scarred me for life. So I think it's unfortunately not my favorite flavor. However, if I was a fan of dill pickles,
yes,
I would be an enormous fan of yours because they were delicious. I did try them and I did like them. I was
very proud of you for trying.
I did try them because I always try. And
you have to be a good role model for your child.
I do for my small child who likes less things than I do by a lot. So I think it was a wonderful, wonderful thing. Everybody that we gave those pickles to, because we gave jars and jars of them away.
Which is so fun.
They loved them.
Yeah.
hardcore.
And, you know, if you haven't done a refrigerator pickle, it's such an easy brining process with water and sugar and white vinegar. And once you make the brine, you're really stuffing as much of those sliced cucumbers you can into your mason jar. And along with coriander seed and mustard seed and dill. And again, those good big cloves of that hardneck German garlic sliced up. Fill the brine up to the top and seal it. And you can really keep those in your fridge for a month or more. Mm-hmm. And then the fun part about that too is that the brine continues once the pickles are gone. So you can just take that brine. I like to redo the dill and redo the garlic and put that into a whole new set of sliced cucumbers, and you've got the whole pickling process starting again. I was starting to get a lot of other recipe suggestions around that pickling brine. I think a good friend of ours, Allie, sent me a pickle martini recipe. I know you really want one of those.
Oh boy. Wow. That's a hard pass. I'm not a martini guy either. And to do a pickle martini, that I'm moving on from in a big way.
I'm totally doing that, by the way.
Wow.
Yes. So if anybody has any really good pickle brine recipes, you just send them to me. Link in the show notes that you can send it to us. There's also was a pickle biscuits where you're using the brine.
I'm going to move on. I'm going to start talking about chickens. That's all I have to say. Cause we grew other things, but cucumbers.
We did. That was a very prolific harvest.
It was bananas.
Yeah.
It really was bananas. I know we talked about that before, but it was a very big year for everybody here in this area.
Yeah.
Pickles. Cucumbers were a very big thing.
Sorry.
I got pickle on the brain.
Sorry.
This is business.
Yeah. And again, necessity drives invention, right? I mean,
Correct.
You have to come up with, and when we're talking about preserving, oh my gosh, the zucchini, we had an incredible year for zucchini.
I think the funny thing is so many people, you talk about, I have extra zucchini. Do you want zucchini? They're like, no, we're good.
People around here.
We got plenty. No, we're fine. Thank you so much. It's sort of like, we were joking with a friend on the train to New York. People are trying to hand out zucchini to common strangers because there's so much zucchini at this time.
So on the preserving side, obviously zucchini is very watery. Yeah. So you have to, I'd love to hear people's ideas for water bath canning of, anything like that for zucchinis. I tend not to do any pickling because Trevor does not love pickling as we have previously stated, but we did a lot of zucchini lasagnas with that delicious.
We did a whole long batch, and we took those San Marzano tomatoes and had an assembly line of zucchini lasagna.
Which is so great because they're all portioned, they're in our freezer, so
they heat really easily, and it's so fast. And it's so easy to do.
You can do it in the oven if you want. You pop it in the microwave. There's no shame in that game. We're busy. Life is hard. Sometimes you just I want something that's really delicious and healthy, and I can do it quickly.
We'll have it tonight.
That sounds really good.
Actually, it does sound good.
I'm hungry.
We're talking about recipes endlessly. This is a rough episode.
Ooh, yeah, but
we didn't bring snacks.
We didn't.
That sounds weird on the podcast, though. If you're
I don't think anyone wants to hear us
chewing on the podcast. Yeah, that seems weird.
Yeah, no, that might be odd. But so we have a lot of that. So that was a really good way. And also, we did a lot of shredding of zucchini.
We did some shredding and freezing, which is also totally fine.
Yep.
So you can
great for muffins.
You can shred. We used our food processor to shred. We've saved multiple tens of pounds of zucchini frozen.
And muffins. I made a batch.
Delicious muffins.
Whole wheat flour, shredded zucchini, walnuts.
Yeah.
Delicious.
And those froze
low sugar,
very well.
But still yummy.
When we're freezing the zucchini, the nice thing about it is that it does go sort of flat.
Yes.
Because it's still, you still retain all of the moisture, which is fine, but it does go nice and flat. And easy to store it that way. You just sort of have a stack of these little flat containers of zucchini.
Yeah, and again, we try to use reusable wherever we can. And for those of you that bake with zucchini and you're making muffins, you still have to get that liquid out. That you'll have that in a frozen zucchini, but it really translates very well for baking.
Totally, and I think that's one of the best ways to use that. Although you can put them in eggs, you can put them in, for breakfast, do a little omelet with little zucchini in it, just fry down that zucchini just a little bit. Just
a little good butter.
Get some of the, all about the good butter, please. That's all it is. There is one thing that you made.
Yeah.
That was extra good.
Are you talking about the soup?
I'm talking about that soup.
It was so good,
that
right?
soup, that zucchini soup. Now, if you want to use up a lot of zucchini and you want to keep it for a long time with a soup that is very tasty and also keeps and reheats really, really well, this is the soup for you, friends.
Well, thank you, Trevor.
That was a very good handoff, by the way.
That was. And again, ingredients all fresh, very, very simple. So for the soup, you're going to use those fresh ingredients from the garden or from your farmer's market. It's olive oil. It's obviously zucchini, garlic, vegetable broth, kosher salt, black pepper, thyme. We used fresh thyme from the garden, of course. Double, triple the recipe as you need to.
I would quadruple the recipe. It'll take some time, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. When zucchinis come back around, this is definitely a game changer.
Yep. The key for the consistency was cannelli beans.
That's the sort of surprise there. Now, if you're growing your own beans, certainly you can use them. For this one, we used beans that we had that were cannelli beans.
Organic canned beans.
They were organic. That's right. That's right, people. We don't grow everything, okay? We grow a lot. We don't grow everything.
It also has lemon juice. As you know, I love lemon juice and cream, or you could use Greek yogurt or sour cream, whatever works for you, or a milk substitute like coconut milk. That would be delicious.
That would be really good, actually.
Would be very, very yummy. And then on the top, we did some homemade croutons. But you're going to cook everything. You're going to saute
That's the nice part. It's like it's just cooking in a big, beautiful pot. It smells amazing.
You're going to dump everything in, and then you use an immersion blender.
Yeah.
Blend it all up, or you throw it in your standing blender.
Immersion blender worked really well for us.
I think I might have done an extra squirt of lemon on the top and serving.
Oh, really? Did you? That's surprising to me. It's shocking.
And a little bit of homemade crouton on top. It was delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
And we have some of that in the freezer.
We have a lot of that in the freezer. Thank goodness. We have loads of it in the freezer still. But I think for me, that was the part that I thought was so interesting, was that you have this long cook on the stovetop, just getting everything nice and soft and getting all those flavors together. You're developing all these layers of flavor and flavor profile.
And it doesn't need to be very long.
That's true. It's a good point.
It's only
not
about
like 2
20
hours
minutes.
you're putting on here.
It's 20 minutes, which is really doable even on a busy weeknight. If you can prep some of the chopping, because we always know that's hard, you can prep some of these things, very easy to pull together. Totally. And then you've got a great meal really quickly.
The other thing that I think was, the soup is very forgiving.
Tell us more.
I'm going to tell you all about it. There were some times in the garden where we missed a zucchini. And the zucchini that we got, that we missed because it continues to grow.
Yes.
Unless you take it off, by the way.
Yeah.
Was like a baseball bat.
Yeah. We had a couple of those.
We had a few of those.
Yeah.
So this soup is actually really good. We just did a little more cutting of the seed side and kept the sort of flesh of the zucchini, and it actually couldn't taste it one way or the other. It was
still delicious.
Totally fine and delicious.
100%.
So this is a good answer if you have those extra big boys that end up still in your garden that you need to do something with. They're probably not going to have the same nice flavor if you're doing another dish with it, but for this soup, perfect.
So good.
For the smaller zucchinis, we did a lot this year of zucchini carpaccio.
Oh, that's so...
I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to bring you back to zucchini carpaccio.
And on those, you want to go lengthwise with a mandolin. Get it nice and thin.
Super thin. Not so thin that you can see through it. It does need a little bit of weight to it.
And we like to talk about these dishes that have a wow factor, and they're very easy to pull together. This zucchini carpaccio, incredible crowd pleaser. So ridiculously easy.
We have friends who have said to us, I don't actually like zucchini. Not a lot of people. There is one friend that we've said, he tried it. And he said, I will eat zucchini every day if I eat it like this.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it's so simple.
We did a little beach picnic, didn't we?
We did. And he tried it there at Campo Beach, and it was amazing. It's just zucchini. Mm-hmm. Get ready for this. It's a long list. Get your pens out and write it down.
Recipe.
Olive oil.
Yes.
lemon, salt, pepper, and a little bit of really good Parmesan cheese. Shaved on top.
That's it.
That's it. There isn't anything else.
No. And you can literally put it together, lay it out, and it will marinate in enough time.
Put it back in the fridge and sit there, and it is a no-fail dish.
And it looks really pretty. It looks
beautiful. All the color is retained. It has that little wisp of yellow from the olive oil. It's beautiful.
So good. We eat a lot of that.
Tons of that. But it's just so good. It's so fresh. It's crunchy. It's bright. It's of the season.
And if I had some left over from the day before, I chopped it up and I threw it on top of a salad sometimes.
Yeah.
So good.
It's very versatile.
Yeah.
That was a big winner for that dish. We did a lot with that. The other thing we had a lot of this year is squashes.
Yes.
So we didn't do pumpkins this year.
No.
So sad.
I know.
You love a round pumpkin.
I do.
You love a round pumpkin.
I love the little white pumpkins.
Those were great. We did those last year.
You put them all over the house.
Yeah.
And then
we'll do them next year.
We got 4 pumpkins, I think, last year.
Yeah.
They took up a lot of room.
It takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot more area now that we can work on that. It's an evolving process.
I need to find space for the pumpkin patch.
Pumpkin patch.
Brings me joy.
That's the whole purpose of all of this.
It is.
Just whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm going to make more of those.
But we did acorn squash.
We did. Delicious.
We did delicata. We did butternut. And I think we had a lot of good butternuts this year.
We did.
You know, that was a good yield. And it's funny because the butternuts, they tend to take over.
Yes.
Obviously, the vine is long and winding. So
I have a different idea for where we'll plant them. Again, it's the new bed energy that we had in the garden this year.
It was very full. Yeah. Yes. One note, don't plant cosmos or zinnias near your squash.
Yeah.
Because they will be impossible to move because the squash will go up into your zinnias and make it very, very hard to get your zinnias out and the squash untangled.
Yeah. It got a little chaotic.
It got a little chaos.
It's still beautiful.
Fun chaos, but still chaos all the same.
And the cosmos and the zinnias got so tall with the raised beds too. I need like a step stool.
One recipe that I think we've done...
I made it last year.
We made it last year. We're going to make it again this year. That was really delicious with butternut. I mean, shockingly good. Another wower was the butternut squash whipped feta dip.
So good.
It was really good. It was really good. Because this is, as it's starting to really change from a seasonal time, this is the stuff you really want to eat next to a little
holiday appetizer.
Little crackling fire in the background.
Really nice holiday appetizer for your Thanksgiving table.
And this one, we also added a little warm honey drizzle, little red bee honey on top, which is phenomenal.
So good.
And I mean, any fresh local honey would work, but red bee honey, I think, was a really, really good one. And it's not a lot. I mean, it's a couple cups of the butternut squash.
You're doing the roasting
thing.
It's
more roasting. It's garlic. It's feta. There's also ricotta in this as well, which is, I think, what gives it its really creamy nature. Sage, thyme, all that can come.
All of those seasonal
all
herbs.
That good stuff. And really, all it is roasting, blending, and that's pretty much eating. And our blender has gotten a workout this season.
The food processor and the blender. Yes.
It's just delicious.
Yeah.
Little fresh herbs on top, little olive oil on top, and then the warm honey on top of that. That's the jam.
No,
it's not jam,
good.
It's dip, but it's very good.
I'm mentally making some menus in my head as we're talking about these recipes.
So that we can eat them again?
Yes, soon.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
We haven't talked about beans.
Oh my, there were so many beans.
Tricolored beans, dragon tongue beans. Super fun looking. Succotash.
Those
Heritage.
Heritage originals.
There's a post that we have on our Instagram talking about this incredible purple succotash bean that was grown by the indigenous people here in Connecticut. We're so excited to make some dishes with that this winter, and particularly for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. I read that like salted pork sauteing with that bean is like a creamy deliciousness.
You had me at salted pork.
I know. we're doing a lot of research on how to use these beans and the recipes that we can implement for our holidays. So we'll share more of that as it comes.
As they grow, as they develop.
But we have a very traditional Thanksgiving dish.
Ellen often says that I have the palate of a 1950s person.
Yes.
Because I like tang, which is true.
And you loved Tab.
I love Tab Cola, my favorite soda.
It was a sad day in the Crafts household when they discontinued Tab.
Don't bring it up. It's only going to make me cry. But I like a lot of those kinds of, for whatever reason. I don't like the era, but I like some of the foods. It's very bizarre to me. It's very weird. But I do love.
It's so different than your current
it's
hyper-local
like
fresh palate.
Totally.
So I had a challenge in taking that very classic green bean casserole.
Love it.
And making it better. Gooderer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because I do like a real traditional fried onions. It was amazing. Yeah. It was great. And that was with our green beans, our tricolor beans that we got.
So
and we water bath can those and have them all year.
Yes, which are very yummy. So I took our green beans and then I made my own mushroom soup. So nothing in the can, but I got some delicious, I got a mix of mushrooms. Yeah, so basically I got a mixed bag of fresh, locally grown mushrooms. There was shiitake, there was red cap. There was a bunch of stuff in there that was just really, really delicious. Oyster. No.
You mean wine cap?
Wine cap, that's
because
right.
Because red cap would probably kill us.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to avoid that. We're going to avoid that one. I know you meant wine cap,
I did.
They are really good.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
So made a mushroom soup, put it in with our delicious green beans. I did have to buy
the fried onions.
That's the hard one. If there's anyone has a hack on how to make fresh
fried onions,
I know that can be done, but there's something about the taste of that that's very hard.
I think there's a lot of layers of things that are probably not good for you that they do to those onions to make them so crunchy and delicious.
But it was a big hit.
It was a huge hit. No, it was awesome. It was great.
And I think what is so fun, as we always say, is seeing the things that we've grown in our yard and having them come to the table and sharing a meal with the people that we love.
It is the best. It really is. It is the whole point of being.
Yeah.
And certainly the whole point of being here.
Yeah.
Is seeing what we can bring out of our yard, seeing the different people that we know and sharing that with them. And that's the whole point of this whole exercise. Yeah. Sharing our joy.
I love that. And we would love to hear what you have been doing with all of the wonderful things that you've grown in your yard or things that you're planning for your upcoming holiday table.
Yeah, what are you bringing to the table? We'd love to hear.
Thanks for being with us and having a seat at our table.
Yard to Table is a production of Macrocosm Entertainment. Don't forget to rate us and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And for tips and more information, follow us on Instagram @Stonebrook House.